I've terminated Mike Shanahan.
I didn't get the job done, and that's the bottom line.
New head coach of the Denver Broncos, Josh McDaniels.
And I think Jay's going to enjoy playing in this system. It's very quarterback friendly.
But he's going to have to prove to everybody in our locker room that he can be a head coach.
Josh McDaniels created Matt Castle, and he wanted to bring that creation to Denver to show everybody that I can win there. It backfired.
You would think that he would say, let me fix the 29th ranked defense. But oh no, he has to start with the quarterback.
This organization has spent the last 8 years trying to find another John Elway. Now they found one, and all of a sudden they want to deal him.
You're talking about getting rid of a Pro Bowl quarterback for a one-year wonder quarterback?
Was Jay Cutler too sensitive?
You haven't been to a playoff. You hadn't really done nothing in this game. You hadn't really accomplished nothing. You hadn't won.
Jay Cutler has to understand it's his job to make the head coach happy. It's not the head coach's job to make him happy.
Now, on Jay's side of things, he has to understand this is a business.
What Josh McDaniels clearly could have done is call Jay Cutler on the phone and say, hey, listen, we've got some phone calls. We're not moving you. You're part of that.
Get your butt back in there, man up, lead your team.
Probably on draft day, Jay Cutler will be wearing a different uniform.
I'd love to have an opportunity to continue to meet with him face to face. I think that's the best type of communication at this point to try to work towards a resolution.
McDaniels with the Cutler jersey, sort of like the Dewey beats Truman headline moment for the Denver Broncos and their young new head coach who will have to try and win games in the NFL with either backup Chris Sims, Kyle Orton, former Bears quarterback, or whoever the Broncos might choose in this year's draft, because Jay Cutler was traded 2 days after Pat Bowlen made a public statement that they would grant his request to be traded. And this is how Cutler spent his last night as a Broncos quarterback at an MMA match in Nashville, Tennessee. It just gets more and more strange, more and more bizarre, but it is now official. We have a resolution with the Broncos McJaygate. It is resolved by sending Jay Cutler to the Chicago Bears along with a 5th-round pick in this year's draft. Kyle Orton, former Chicago Bears quarterback, goes to Denver, where he will again do battle with either Chris Sims or whoever the Broncos might acquire via trade or draft. For the first time in the history of the Denver Broncos, they will have 2 first-round picks in the same draft, their own 12th overall pick, now the Chicago 18th overall pick. The 84th overall pick is now in Denver's possession, along with next year's first-round pick, formerly of the Chicago Bears. Now that belongs to Denver. Michelle Beisner reports from Broncos camp.
Thanks, guys. I just spoke with what seems to be a very relieved Pat Bowlen. I asked Bowlen how he felt now that this whole quarterback saga could be put to rest.
All right, thanks so very much, Michelle. Rich Eisen here on NFL Total Cutler. We're going to be massaging this trade throughout this 60-minute program. Someone who knows a lot about making trades and a lot about market value joins us right now. Let's turn over to Charlie Casserly. Charlie, very rare to see 2 #1 draft picks in a trade in any acquisition in the National Football League anymore, but we saw it on Thursday, and the Bears also sent a quarterback to the Broncos, so that's another thing that the Broncos were able to get. Do you think this is the best deal the Broncos could have gotten? Because it's a heck of a haul, it appears.
I got to believe it's the best deal they could have gotten, because I think you were talking about the Jets, I'm sure, being involved. And if the Jets were going to offer 2 #1s, they could not give them a quarterback that was as good as Kyle Orton. Then you come to the Redskins. Dan Snyder is an aggressive guy. I have no doubt in my mind he would have given him 2 #1s and Jason Campbell. Well, if you're if you're Denver, you like Chicago's quarterback Kyle Orton better than Jason Campbell, to me, obviously. So I think this is the best deal they could have gotten. And the other team here that to me it's a sleeper is Minnesota. I know publicly they said they weren't involved, but I got to believe that they had to look at this thing in some way. But again, maybe they weren't willing to the price to make this high. And again, Kyle Orton. Kyle Orton last year was a pretty good quarterback for the first year, and he has a winning record in the NFL. So it's not like you got somebody that nobody wanted and that hasn't had some success in the NFL.
And everybody talks winners and losers, and it obviously remains to be seen. But at first blush, the Bears have got to be ecstatic. I know that it is a treasure trove of draft picks, but they got a guy in Jay Cutler, a quarterback, a franchise quarterback, and this is a franchise that's been dying for somebody like him for some time.
No question. I mean, if I'm the Chicago Bears, I'm happy I made this deal. If I was Chicago, I would have made the deal because it's hard to get a quarterback at this level in Jay Cutler, a guy that's come into the league and proven he can play. He's young. He's had success in the league. It's hard to find this guy. So it's hard to put a price on that. But right now, Chicago has a player. Denver, they've got some draft choices. They got to turn those draft choices into players.
All right, Charlie, we appreciate your thoughts on the trade that everybody's been thinking would come on draft day, but yet it happens on Thursday, April 2nd. Welcome to NFL Total Access. So many people to get to that we're going to have on this program, either on the phone or on team cams or right here in person. We have Bob Papa, the voice of Thursday and Saturday Night Football, right here on NFL Network in the studio, along with Charles Davis. And fresh back from the USC Pro Day, sporting the tan he got there, Mike Mayock. So a 12 and an 18 the Denver Broncos now have. Let's start, I guess, with the draft ramifications here. Detroit's not getting Cutler. That means that obviously the #1 overall pick could be Matthew Stafford more than ever now. What do you think the Broncos are going to do to try and get somebody in this draft? Do you think they're going to go quarterback at 12 and 18?
I think they have to. You just lost a franchise quarterback. And keep in mind, their needs prior to today were all on defense. Okay? And I made the comment in our show a little bit earlier today. I mean, their offense was a Ferrari ready to go. 2 young wide receivers, 2 young offensive tackles, a tight end, and Scheffler that could play in a great franchise quarterback. And now they've dismantled it with the quarterback. So to me, you've got to take 12 and 18, and there's only one quarterback in this draft that fits what they want to do, and his name's Mark Sanchez. And they better hope Detroit doesn't take him at #1, and you better not wait till 12. You better take 12 and 18 and whatever you need and go get your quarterback of the future because, as we talk all the time, franchise quarterbacks are rare, and if you believe you got one, you better beg, borrow, and steal to get them.
Yeah, and the way to look at it, too, is as everyone looks at the franchise quarterback to label and what's available in this year's draft, the consensus there are 3 guys that are going to be first-round guys. Stafford, Sanchez, and probably Josh Freeman at Kansas State. But Mike made the point, and it's the right point. One fits Denver. That would be Mark Sanchez. Playing style, what he's done, so on and so forth. If you're trying to wait to get another one at 18, well, the Jets probably going to swoop in if you were going to even think Josh Freeman. And Stafford will probably be gone anyway before that point. 12 and 18 move up. You'll find a dance partner with 2 picks like that to make the move and go get the guy that you want. Even though before this all started, what was the screaming need for Denver? Defense. Mm-hmm. But now you don't have the guy to pull the trigger. You got to go get another guy.
Well, and they also have a lot of currency. Now, when you take a look at the top 84 picks in the draft, Denver now has 5. So they have an ability to move around the board and try to identify what they need. But again, we get back to this quarterback situation. Giving up a guy like Jay Cutler who can throw the football with the best of them. Now he's going to go to a team that has a running game, that has a talented tight end, has a team that can do some things in the division. And
added a tackle.
You just added a tackle, which makes you wonder about what the status is of Chris Williams, who they took in the first round last year.
He can play right side because he's got short arms anyway, and he was projected there. Net. When you start having to use these draft picks to go get a quarterback, what have you really accomplished with this trade other than getting rid of a headache?
You're not getting the supplementary pieces to go along with it.
What they've done is they have proven that Josh McDaniels is running this ship. They have proven that that's the way that the owner wants it. And again, that's not something that's tangible. That's not something that's going to sell tickets. That's not something that may quell the masses in the locker room who are wondering what the direction of this franchise is with the franchise quarterback now in Chicago. But what it is it just puts down as concretely as possible that this is the Denver way or the highway, and it doesn't matter who you are.
And in a sense, it's a little bit of a rebuilding process as you go along now, and we joked about this a little bit in Path to the Draft. If I'm Josh McDaniels, I've gotten a great vote of confidence. You pointed this out earlier today, Rich. A huge vote of confidence from my owner. That you're my guy, you're my head coach, I backed you because we didn't repair what happened with our franchise quarterback. Mm-hmm. But the flip side of all that now is Josh McDaniels knows if I'm him, I'm going, well, if you like me so much, I've got a little more rebuilding to do. How about a little extra on my contract, a few extra years, because it's not as close as it was unless we can find a way to get that quarterback.
Are you kidding me?
How
about you've done such a bad job? We had to get rid of one of the 6 franchise quarterbacks in this league.
But you're missing my point.
No,
my point is the owner has sided with him. And if the owner has sided with him, to me, you're married at the hip on that because you did not repair the rift you had with a franchise quarterback right there. So you've said, okay,
You're
I'm with you
talking
on
about
that
the
one.
ramifications
I'm with you on that
of
one.
a 32-year-old coach who came in and mismanaged it from day one and is asking for a raise?
Yeah, I didn't say a raise. I didn't say a raise. I didn't say a raise. I said extra time on the contract because the owner said the owner went with the coach and said this is how it works.
Where they tack on years just for the heck of it.
Hey, did the owner side with him? Did the owner side with him?
He did. Where the owner goes, by the way.
Yeah, now it's bad. Now it's got to work.
I had to clean up your mess. You better take care of it,
Right.
or you won't be around long.
It sounds like, and I think McDaniels is asking for more bonus money for AIG as well. We've got so much to talk about on this particular show. You mentioned the tackle. It's not just any tackle. It's Orlando Pace that the Bears signed. Now, again, of course, he's had injury problems the last couple of years. He's a 7-time Pro Bowler, future Hall of Famer, the guy who is synonymous with the Rams franchise for over a decade. He's got a 3-year deal to protect the new quarterback in Chicago. That would be Jay Cutler, the top 10 quarterback trades of all time. Our production staff is on it. We're cutting top 10s. When the news is right, we're cutting top 10s, Mike Mayock. That's the way we roll.
I know you do.
On NFL Total Access. Robbie Gould, an actual real-life Chicago Bear, is going to join us.
I think I'm going to do everything I can and work as hard as I can and be the guy that stabilizes it. You know, I don't think that's saying that I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to be that guy. I think this is my offense, and I'm just working as hard as I can to show everybody that's my job. I'm happy with where I'm at. I think the organization is behind me, and I know my teammates are, so that's really all that matters to me.
And 16 days later, he's wearing a lot more orange than he's used to. Kyle Orton, now a Denver Bronco. Bob Papa here on this edition of NFL Total Access. You picked a pretty busy day to come and join us on the program. Robbie Gould joins us right now on the phone, the Pro Bowl place kicker of the Chicago Bears, a good friend of this program. Robbie, your thoughts on your new teammate?
Oh, we're definitely excited about it. I think Jay's going to bring lots to the city of Chicago, the organization of the Bears, and I think we bolster our offense with another weapon, especially a guy like Jay that can throw and run and get himself out of a little bit of trouble. But you got to keep in perspective, too, that not only have both guys been able to produce on the field, but, you know, Kyle's a winning quarterback, you know, and he's a guy that's been around in Chicago, and Denver got a great quarterback in Kyle Orton as well. So they're going to love him. He was a great teammate, and, you know, I just hope that he does well, and I know Jay's going to come in and do a great job for us.
Robbie, have the cell phones between teammates been buzzing here over the last couple of hours when you add someone like Jay Cutler to your team?
You know, it's amazing to see what's happened over the last 2-3 weeks since the whole talk had gone down with the trade. You know, the Bears, I guess, have been in it from the start, but it's been very quiet. And to think that we would have landed them and given up as much as we had given to the Denver Broncos to get them, obviously, when you have 12 teams or so bidding for a guy like Jay Cutler and everything that he brings to the table, you have to give up a lot to get a lot. So my phone's been going crazy. I know that everyone in the city of Chicago and elsewhere has seen the story, and it's probably the hottest breaking news right now, along with Orlando Pace coming with him as well. So we're pretty excited about having both guys. I think, you know, like I said, the city's been in a buzz since the rumors started, and hopefully Jay's going to come in, learn the offense quickly, and get the guys behind him, which I know they will, because Jay's a great guy. I've met him a few times, and I've heard nothing but great things about him.
Robbie, were you surprised your team made such a rash move that they pulled off this? Because it's been all Kyle's our guy all the time for the last several years.
You know what? Was it kind of rash? I don't know. You know, it's something that they wanted to do was stabilize the quarterback position, and not to say that Kyle didn't do that. But when they get an opportunity to bolster and find another attribute that maybe at the quarterback position to help our offense, maybe they saw that in Jay. I don't know. I really don't know what the upper management level was thinking, but obviously they thought very highly of Jay, and I know they thought very highly of Kyle. But when you make a trade like that, you're going to have to, like I said, give up a lot to get a lot. So I think both teams made out really well in the trade, and I'm excited to see Jay step in the locker room and get under center for the Chicago Bears.
All right, Robbie, good luck. with your new quarterback. Thanks for joining us. That's Robbie Gold.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. That's Robbie Gold joining us on the program. Brian Urlacher, the Pro Bowl man right in the middle of the Chicago defense, had this to say about the Cutler trade, saying, I would be ticked off, too, if someone was trying to trade me and didn't tell me about it. I don't think Jay is going to be an issue. We have a pretty good locker room, so I'm not worried about that. I've never met him, but I've heard good things about him. I'm not worried about him fitting in. As you might imagine, Urlacher has open arms in Chicago waiting to get him. Steve White's joining us right now here on NFL Total Access. Steve, are the Broncos done trading? They certainly have a lot of parts with which to either move up in the draft or perhaps get more established players into the fold.
Well, you said it absolutely correct, Rich. I don't know if they're done trading because right now Kyle Orton is either a long-term guy or a stopgap till next season. Now maybe they have their eye on Mark Sanchez, the draft prospect out of USC, but to get him, they might have to move off that number 12 pick that they currently have and use either that 12th pick or number 18, which they just acquired, or maybe even both, to maybe move into the top 5 to get to Sanchez. He might not get past Seattle at number 4, so they might have to be in play with St. Louis or Kansas City at 1 and 2 should Detroit take Matthew Stafford. They could also use some of the draft picks that they've accrued to maybe make a play for another quarterback who's on another roster. But I think right now they might like a rookie prospect to develop while Kyle Orton holds things down for at least this season.
What about the Bears? What do you think their next move might be?
Well, I mean, right now you see this. They don't have the draft pick. They also gave up a 3rd rounder. They've got to get Jay Cutler some help. I mean, you're going to get a strong-arm guy like this. You've got Devin Hester and a couple other options at wide receiver. Great running back with Matt Forte, but I think they're going to have to, free agency-wise, go out and get a wide receiver. They just signed Orlando Pace. What about them going out and get his former St. Louis Rams teammate, Torrey Holt? He's somebody who still has a lot of years left to play. Could be a good fit in this type of system that Chicago plays with the strong-armed quarterback. I do think they're going to have to go free agency. Torrey Holt might be a name that you hear about.
All right, Steve, we appreciate the knowledge. That's Steve Weiss joining us here on a very busy Thursday, first Thursday in April, the day that Jay Cutler was traded to the Chicago Bears for Kyle Orton and a whole bunch of draft picks. How's Chicago taking it? Other than from hearing from Robbie Gold, Rick Tellender is going to join us on that. Well, you can see Cutler's numbers last year alone dwarf the Orton/Grossman numbers that they put up for the Bears last year, but just not even last year alone. Cutler's all-time numbers in just 3 years, he would be the Bears' all-time leader in completion percentage, passer rating in 300-yard games. And it's been 23 years since the Bears have fielded a Pro Bowl quarterback, so nobody knows how starved for a top-notch quarterback the Chicago Bears and their fans have been. And our next caller in right now, Rick Tellender of Chicago Sun-Times, joining us on the program. Rick, can you put into perspective what Jay Cutler's arrival will look like in Chicago?
Well, you know, this city is football mad, Bears mad, and something like this is has people in a state of shock because, frankly, nobody expected the Bears to do this. They just don't do these kinds of things. And the quarterback position has been the most obvious and glaring deficiency in the whole, you know, sports fabric of this city with the Cubs, the Sox, the Blackhawks, the Bulls. I mean, a lot of them are championship starved, but they don't have a single position that you can say, my God, can we ever get somebody at this position? So when Jay Cutler gets here, and I'm assuming, you know, they'll, you know, dot the I's and cross the T's on the contract, and it's all done, and he'll get here. He'll be in for a royal treatment like, I don't know, you know, at the start, probably be nobody closer than Michael Jordan back in the day.
That's saying quite a lot. I mean, he's a young man from next door in Indiana, Santa Claus, Indiana, grew up a Bears fan, so he's playing for the team that he grew up adoring. How do you think he's going to fit in? Because winging the ball around has not been the Bears' forte, even including Matt, if you will. He's been the Bears' forte. But what do you think he's going to look like in a Bears uniform and in a Bears offense?
I don't know. It's such a weird thing. You know, first of all, he's got to throw to wide receivers, so we got to check that. You know, I hear Orlando Pace is coming in. He used to be a really good player. Used to be being the operative word. Cutler needs protection. He's, you know, he's agile. He's got a strong arm. His numbers are crazy, as we all know. And in my column for tomorrow, I'm mentioning that could this be some sort of crazy fascination with fantasy league football numbers? You know, that because Cutler has not won any playoff games or Super Bowls, and you know, when the actual season starts, man, he's going to be under pressure that's going to be unbelievable because literally all the eyes of all sports fans will be on him. So we'll be, you know, he'll be under a microscope the second he gets to Chicago. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, certainly if you mention the letters MJ like that, I mean, you throw that around like manhole covers in Chicago. Rick, thanks so much for joining us. That's Rick Tellender, Chicago Sun-Times columnist, giving us some local flavor on what no doubt will be a coronation when Jay Cutler gets to Chicago. And I've got to give you props, Mike Mayock, because you don't ever pat yourself on the back, so I got to do it for you. It was a couple years ago. It was him, Vince Young, Matt Leinart. Somebody said Cutler had the biggest upside. Somebody said you should go draft him. That guy was chosen 11th overall, and now that 11th overall pick has exploded into first-round picks for the Denver Broncos. So you, sir, I will give you the props that you deserve and ask you, though, what is he going to do in a Chicago offense? Do you think, I mean, that they're going to suddenly just go pass happy? Are they going to go out and draft a receiver and just start winging it around a lot there in Chicago?
Well, a couple different levels here. Number one, I think Jerry Angelo and Lovie Smith were kind of on a short leash to win some football games. The move was dramatic but necessary, as was the offensive tackle move with Orlando Pace. What that tells us is they need to win now. Those moves tell us it's now. What I look at is the remaining draft picks. And what they have is 8 picks, including 3 compensatory, one of which is a third-round pick. So they gave away a third, but they still have a third. At number 49,